Trustee Neil Gaynor.
Here.
Trustee Brad Houck.
Here.
Trustee Kent Maggard.
Here.
Trustee Keith Lincoln. I do not see Keith. Trustee David Smith.
Here.
Trustee Hugh Connett.
Here.
Trustee Bob Lux is here. Trustee Paul Martin.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Pass it that way. Thank you. Thanks, David. I got it.
And we will begin with an invocation and the pledges of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those who we have been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue and discussion with understanding, wisdom, and humility. Amen.
Amen.
If you wish, prior to reciting the pledges of allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer or reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance to the United States of America flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pledge to the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag,
I
pledge allegiance to the Texas,
one nation
under God, one
and indivisible. Shelley, don't see any comments from the public? No? Okay. Receive a Region H update. Arthur Bradehoff. Good afternoon. Good evening, Arthur.
Mr. Chair, trustees, senior staff of Woodlands Water, and to the public. Last time we were here was in December, and we gave our Q4 report in December. Region H has been a little active since January. On the 17th of January, we had a subcommittee, and that subcommittee meeting was water management strategies. And we had to make sure all the strategies were ready for our initial prepared plan. And in that, we had 60 water strategies that we reviewed, representing 890 projects and approximately a market value of in excess of $18 billion. Now, these are projects that would cover in our plan from 2026 all the way to 31. So if these projects all were executed, the cost would be in excess of $18 billion, provided today's dollars were frozen over the life of the project, which we know is not realistic, but you have to put a dollar amount to fill a square with Texas Water Development Board. So that was our January 17th meeting. Our first quarter meeting was on February the 5th, and the Water Strategy Subcommittee report out to full board was to accept the 60 strategies, all the projects, and to release that data for upload into the plan that has to be presented to the Texas Water Development Board by the 3rd of March. So the full board approved the plan and to be released in order to meet the timetable of March the 3rd with the Texas Water Development Board. The plan comprises in excess of 1,600 pages. There's 10 chapters to the plan. Just to give you some example of what the chapters are, I'll just read two. Chapter 1 is a recap of the entire plan. It's about 24, 25 pages. And the second chapter deals with water demand. What we'll do is we'll take all the documents, work with Shelley, get them downloaded on that G drive. Should anyone want to take a weekend, case of wine, and to read 1,600 pages of the report. But it's quite extensive. This plan started back in 2021 and we're here in 2025. So it's taken that long to build this plan. So someone says, what's the next steps? Well, after the plan gets filed with the Texas Water Development Board, now that's the initial plan. That gives time for the Texas Water Development Board to review the plan and bring back any comments, observations, adjustments, any recommendation to Region H, so we could take a look at it. While that's ongoing, we have to file the plan with 3 locations. You have to file a plan at libraries, county clerks, and at the county court. So that plan will be filed by our consultant to meet that statutory requirement. Realizing that Region H represents 15 counties, so this has to be spread out amongst 15 counties to make sure the general public has access to the plan. April will be the public hearing month. We are planning 3 public hearings. As soon as I get dates and locations, we'll share that with you. And also there'll be a 30-day comment period for the general public to write in and make their comments to the plan. From May through October, we'll collect all those public comments, any adjustments from the Texas Water Development Board, mix it up, adjust it in a plan, and then the full board will get the final plan in October, and we'll release the final plan in October to the Texas Water Development Board, along with the other 15 regions that comprise this 16th region water planning group. And then the other items that we dealt with, the other business, we reelected our officers and the executive committee. Your representative has been reelected to sit on the executive committee for another year. So Woodlands Water has that representation on that committee. And we did receive a presentation from our representative, Heather Rose, who is the representative from the Texas Water Development Board that's assigned to Region H. So in all the documents that get filed onto the G Drive, that will be in the G Drive also. And that's a summation of the last 2 meetings that have taken place since January. It's been a busy time and you could expect it because we're finishing up our work and going with the final plan.
Thank you very much, Arthur.
All right, thank you
Questions?
guys. Appreciate you.
Anybody have questions or no, we're good? Okay. This is to receive an update from the Region 6 San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group. Imelda Diaz had a personal conflict this evening that popped up at the last minute and family issue. And Neil Gaynor will be giving her report.
Okay,
Neil?
thanks, Mr. Chairman. The last planning group meeting was on January the 9th of this year. As you're aware, the flood planning group is in the early stages of the 2028 planning cycle. The main focus at the meeting concerns approvals of the technical consultant, who is Friesen Nichols, appointment of voting members to represent municipalities. In this case, it was the city of Houston, and small municipalities. In this case, it was the city of Friendswood. Also, there were changes incorporated to schedule and required technical work as part of this second cycle. There were also appointments were made to subcommittees for public engagement and technical review. So much of this was housekeeping, shall we say. The next flood planning group meeting is February 13th, tomorrow, at United Way, 50 Wall Drive in Houston. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Questions? Okay, brings us to the consent agenda. Begins on page 1, goes to page 13, and then there's an additional matter on which is on the Google Drive, which is annual adopting of the prevailing wage rate scale for construction projects. Any questions, comments?
Page 3. Final line on page 3 under item 15. Says the committee met to review, and that should read the 23 to 24 audit report. Recommended for approval, and then it says should read C item 9. I'm spotted that. Otherwise, move to accept as presented,
Amended. Accept as amended?
as
Yes,
amended.
yes, thank you, very good. Second? Hearing none? Second?
I'll second.
Neil Gaynor, very good. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried.
here.
I beg your pardon?
I was not here.
You're not here. Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay. That brings us to agenda item number 9. Receive the regular monthly SJRA Woodlands Division report. And Mr. Shackelford will be delivering that to us this evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ed.
How are y'all? Nothing unusual in the monthly operating report. As you can see on page 14, right now we're at 49% groundwater, 51% surface water. Total loss to date for fiscal year to date is 2.9%, and the rolling average is 4.9. Project information is pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to give you a heads up. I've shared this with Eric, so he's aware. So on the Corolla study for the wastewater treatment plant number 1, we are setting up all mud meetings, an all mud meeting for the first week of April, first week of May, and first week of June to present information. Let's see. May would focus on the decision matrix results and weighting along the delivery method. June would be more comment and discussion on the report before finalizing it. And so in April, we would be focusing on condition assessment results and site layouts. So those are the 3 topics, 3 different meetings. And Eric and his staff is working on a location that would be able to accommodate all of the directors if they chose to attend. On the HDR study, which is the AC condition assessment, we're planning for a June all mud meeting to present the results. Phase 1 report is really a screening report. So the phase 2 part would bring us condition assessment data and with recommendations.
When is the phase 2 completed?
We will bring you results in June.
So that means you've completed all the destructive testing?
We'll have that information in our hands, have it analyzed, and it'll be part of the recommendations and delivery in June. Yes, sir.
I thought was gonna be in April. What's in April? It said
April,
condition assessment.
April goes back to the Corolla study, condition assessment of the plant.
Okay, but then they hired their consultant to evaluate. And when are we gonna get that information?
projects.
2 different projects. Are you talking about the concrete testing?
Concrete testing, which
That will be presented with the condition assessment in April.
on April, yeah, okay.
And we can put this in an email and send it so that eliminate any confusion between the 2
After
projects.
the AP title, I'm still, so phase 1, is that done?
Yes,
And we have a readout of that phase 1?
we do. You do not. That will be delivered with the June information.
Okay. And in June, we'll have phase 2.
You will have both phases and all the information we have on AC condition assessment.
Does that mean all the destructive testing would have been completed or
Yes.
will be planned?
No, it will have been completed. And we'll have results with recommendations.
Why would we be waiting for the phase 1 until June? If you have it, like,
I will read you what Dan Hildebrandt has shared with me.
Okay.
Phase 1 report is a screening report of the various technologies that are being used to test and analyze the AC water line pipes.
Chris handed out a 1-pager or so last month, right?
Mhm.
Is that phase 1? Is that a
I have to
phase
go
1
back and
summary?
look.
That's all there is.
That was phase 1.
I thought I was
It's just-
thinking there was more, but the way you said that we're gonna
There's
get.
just some, I think there were 3 or 4 different technologies that they were looking at.
Yes, I saw that.
Use
I
to
saw
evaluate the
So that's phase one.
Yes,
So we have that.
yes.
Okay.
Well, phase one was the non-destructive testing.
Yeah.
Right,
I think so.
and phase two is the destructive testing.
I
And they
haven't
told
kept-
us, they
I
told us
haven't kept
earlier
up
that
with
they
it.
wouldn't
That's
give
why
us, they had no findings to share from phase one until they finished phase two.
Correct.
I asked that in a
Yeah.
prior meeting.
So I thought Corolla was
This
committed.
is not Corollo.
I know, I'm switching gears. Sorry,
I mean,
sorry. I
I
did.
just followed the bouncing ball to a point.
Yeah, sorry. I just checked back. I thought Corolla was doing because we just talked about a March. I thought they were talking to the trustees in March. No? Yeah, they had a
No,
March.
We
phase.
need the month of March to finish up the condition assessment and come back with
Of the plan.
the plan
Okay.
to bring the analysis in the first week of April.
So that's a change.
Slight change, yes.
Well, they added the concrete condition assessment.
Yeah.
That was an extra scope work they added last month.
Correct.
Yeah, but I thought we asked. I said, when will that be?
And Mira may have said March,
You did. I mean, it was on the slide. There's a March deliverable and then a final first report in
You had
March,
to back it
final
up.
report in
you
April.
give her a little more time to get all their information together. We had an in-house meeting not too long ago that said, okay, here's the schedule that we need to have, we need to pursue to be able to give you all and the other directors proper information at the appropriate times.
So it'll be a final report in April then?
No, sir. Go back to what?
Sorry, I'm sorry, because we just went through a whole timeline in the public education
So
committee
April will
meeting
be
just before this for
condition
the.
assessment and site layouts. You've seen the site layouts. But also provide some capital costs. So cost estimates. May would focus on the decision matrix results and the weighting along with delivery methods. And June would be comment and discussion on the report.
That's a final report.
Yes.
There also was a change
Word.
on the results of the matrix, the worksheet.
Yes.
In that, instead of sending it to Corollo at the end of January, they've asked me to hold off, so they don't have it and won't get it until April, I think it is.
Who's they in that sentence? Sorry.
Corollo,
They asked,
consultant.
yeah, no, but they asked you not to, for you not to send it.
While they finish.
They've still got some work to do and they won't be getting to that aspect until mid to late March. And they didn't want that matrix, Ural's information sitting in their hands. They wanted it left with WWA so that it was in the vault, nice and safe.
And we will provide, as I said, a video of the internal structures of these
They did take,
videos.
yes, good.
On the decision matrix, so each MUD provided feedback. Have you shared back to us what the MUDs have said? Are you going to do that?
Will, I was going, if we had held to the plan, I was gonna send it to everybody. I've actually done all 10 and put them into one spreadsheet. So you will see all 10 on the same sheet.
How about the input from the River Authority?
I don't have that.
Can we see that also?
It's not available until Corolla calls for it.
Can you tell us more about, when Chris talked about it, it wasn't clear whether you were doing, 2 or 3 inputs or 10 inputs.
We had different groups submit, well, we had probably 10, maybe 12 people respond to the matrix. And that information was sent to Justin Sant, and he's got it.
Who's Justin?
He's the project manager on that project.
Your guy.
Yes.
Okay. So is that going to be
I haven't,
consolidated,
I haven't seen it.
consolidated into one River Authority feedback to Corolla?
Yeah.
So it'll be 1 plus 10 from the MUDs?
Yeah.
Can we get that confirmed?
That's pretty important.
Well, I know we're sending ours as one. Now,
Okay,
how Eric sends, I'm not, Are you averaging all 10?
No, we'll have 10 separate ones.
So,
And they're in
okay.
one spreadsheet that we've created just so that it's easy to hand, for me to hand out to everybody. So you can see everybody's results right there in front of you for all 10.
So the input will be 10 plus 1.
Mhm.
The assessment that Corello ultimately uses in their, when they take all that and put their material through it. Yeah, is that right?
Here.
That's what I've heard.
Equally weighted.
Equally weighted.
It's like you're like another mud then.
It'd be nice to
That's
see.
what you're
the real-
driving at, right, Brad? You're trying to figure
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see all 11.
But
Yeah.
you will when Corolla presents the information.
And as soon as I get that sent out, as soon as they get ours, I'll present that to y'all.
Okay. Any more questions?
Hold on, I'm sorry. This changes our whole 2025 timeline.
It compresses it a little bit, yes.
I didn't know we had a 2025 timeline.
Well, if we're going to try to make a decision on the wastewater treatment plant in 25 and have a chance of getting funding in 25, with a rollback election or whatever process a MUD goes through, that decision has to be made sometime in the summer as a go, no go, that either we're going to try to do that or not, which would mean to have elections. If not, then it just gets.
I would look like this. They're going to present information that we all have to digest.
I know. Well, we were just thinking in our mind that we're going to get this in March versus June. That's all. My mind is we were kind of around, I was right kind of around in March and May assessing this rather than now June, July, which really makes it really tough.
I mean, to me,
Almost
that
impossible. We need the information.
We've seen enough indications, right, that we're not in any mad rush, right? So having a 2026 decision is fine in terms of condition of the plan. I mean, we can always,
We don't know that.
well, I don't understand that, but we know that you guys won a big award in 2023 about how well the plant was running.
We've explained that in the
Yeah,
past, and that's based on the operators, not the plant itself.
I understand.
But you keep raising it as an issue.
Yeah, but now we're going to, again, rush through, you
I
know.
don't think we're rushing. I think it's going to be cost too, right? So every year we're going to just pay more and more. If
Well, now I mean, that's true in any business decision that you pay, because inflation goes up, cost goes up, but sometimes it goes down. Right? Sometimes, construction cost goes down. What drove this construction chart was the Inflation Reduction Act. Right? And we can get more complicated, but.
if you think costs are going down, I'd love to go.
Well,
find
I'm just saying that, we have a plant that's, has a life to it. You mean, and we're looking to figure out what that life is. And, this effort they're putting in now with that they announced the concrete really should have been done the first step.
We are where we are.
We are where we are.
Right. I think it's important to know the timing on I'm going to go back to the AC pipeline, on the June report out. Ed, you said you'll be a condition assessment. Will we get costs for remediation? Is there also a dollar figure that comes with that condition assessment?
Hugh, I will have to check because that's not in the information that I have.
Okay, thank you.
But I will get that to Eric and he can share that with y'all.
Can we request dates get sent out as soon as possible? We talked about the first week of April, May, and June for the treatment plant, and then just the month of June for the AC.
Right.
So if we get dates, that's getting into on vacation time.
Yeah, we're working on it right now. We're working with a couple different venues. I didn't believe that, we've used the treatment plant before, but we've only really had about 35 to 38 people in that room, and they weren't all directors. So if we end up getting 50 plus consultants and everybody else, we wouldn't fit in that room. I'm looking for another room that we could use. So we're actually this week, we've been calling at a bunch of different venues here, very local. That have a big enough room that they could handle this. And then on each of the MUD's agendas, next week, you will see an agenda item to approve a resolution designating an alternative site. You can't just say, I'm going to go do a meeting somewhere. So we got to do that officially. So Brian's working on that as well. So you'll see that on your MUD agendas next week. That's what that's for, so that we can designate an alternative site to have a public meeting. And then we'll go and do official agendas and all that for those workshops. So we've got 2 dates. The venue that we were looking at didn't have one of the other ones. So we're kind of going to we may need to mix and match.
Okay, but the treatment plant will be the first week of all 3 months.
That's the plan.
Okay.
Yeah, first or second. And one of them, like the first of the week is on a Thursday or a Friday.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so it's,
Okay.
yeah, it gets a little weird there in each of those.
Is there any day that's better than any other for, of course, we're talking all months, never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're avoiding the meetings, and we looked at our calendars and we came up with some dates, but as soon as the venue confirms, then we'll be able to share those as soon as possible.
And that's kind of why we picked the first week is no trustee meeting, no MUD meetings. Any other questions on project?
Yeah.
Township meeting, the township conference room or the board meeting room down there? Because we've used it before.
Yeah, these venues are not all available on the nights we were looking, so.
The big
So it
room.
would be an evening meeting?
It would be.
Evening meeting this week.
And just to confirm, costs will be presented at the June meeting for
No, costs will be presented.
April meeting.
what was a condition assessment for April. Well,
For April, condition assessment, site layouts, and provide capital costs.
excellent.
Okay.
That puts us in a much better place.
Any other questions about project? And
Sir?
the usual statement, financials will be in your MUD packets next week. Any questions about our operating report?
Just curiosity. So I know you had a number of motor failures.
We've had a few, yes, sir.
Yeah. Do you guys do vibration testing, vibration analysis of that motor so you can predict?
On certain motors, yes, sir.
You do. And I noticed you had a couple PVC brakes. And, when we went to that class up in Dallas, pipeline, one thing they did point out was the technology had improved a lot to basically determine, the potential fracture of PVC pipe. What we got to do is, when you make these repairs, is put a pig inlet in. So you can put the pig down there, but they were talking about the ability to understand the issues in a PVC pipe. That technology had moved pretty rapidly. So maybe, in the future you can
We'd be happy to put it in the budget.
look
But
at that.
they're willing to pay for it.
I think the catch is you gotta get a place to inject the pig.
Mhm. Which is new cost.
Well, but if you do it when you have a break, you choose, if you can, see where the break is. I'm just looking for one.
We're getting a lot of break history experience on PVC.
Yeah, who's gonna make the presentation for Corolla?
Probably the same lady that's been here. It'll be someone from Corolla.
No, well, how about an officer? Can we get an officer from Corolla?
Mira is an officer in the company and a partner.
Anything else for agenda item 9?
On the GRP reports,
What page are you on?
well, 26 and 27. There's things that say monthly in fiscal year to date, but I've lost track of what month are we talking about? Because these are lagged versus, so,
So fiscal year is for us is September 1 to August 30th.
yeah, I understand that, but so is this data through January? Or is it only through December?
I'm looking on through the end of December, yes, sir. Because we're typically a month behind.
Okay. So if you look at the monthly data on page 26, let's take the groundwater. It says we used 159 million, right? And you look on page 27, it says the year to date is 159. So that implies that the year to date's only 1 month. But the fiscal year is starting in September. So I would expect the report that we see in February has more than 1 month of data on it.
Well,
Groundwater for the county is probably.
Let Ed answer the question.
let me make certain I'm seeing what you're seeing. So
Monthly data,
yes,
this would be
you're seeing
current
that.
month, and this is year to date, 159.
So we have an error in one of them. We'll get it corrected.
Okay, but if you could add, where it says month,
Which month?
December 2024, January 25, and year to date, if you could put September through X, because I was trying to look at how are we doing year to date versus the month, and I found the same numbers.
Right.
Unless fiscal year, unless this is a calendar year, I just,
Let me get it verified.
okay.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. And I didn't know whether this was because the GRP didn't meet in January.
That has nothing.
Nothing to do with this. Okay. I thought maybe you pulled from that meeting and.
No.
Okay.
We produce a report monthly whether we meet or not.
Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Anything else on the GRP report?
Any further questions from Mr. Shackelford regarding agenda item number 9? Hearing none, agenda item number 10, consider an act on SJRA Woodlands Division 2024 excess funds. I might add that we'll come to that, but because we're a little out of order with the committee, ad hoc committee reports, but the Audit and Finance Committee did meet regarding this matter. So saying that as a beginning point.
Okay. On page 33 of your packet is a memorandum from Chris Meeks to the trustees and the committee indicating that we have completed our annual audit, and that has been presented to the audit committee. There is $5,126,308.77 as considered excess funds. We are not proposing any projects, so we're recommending that all the excess funds be returned to the MUDs. If you will go to page 34, you'll see the table that gives you the percentage of distribution and the corresponding dollars as to what will go back to each MUD. Also attached is a copy of the original resolution that was adopted several years ago. And I would refer you to page 45 at the bottom, where it talks about, in it's subparagraph B, under customer refunds, where it talks about excess funds or refunds. Normally, tonight would be just give you the information. You go back to the MUDs, your MUD, and they direct you, the trustee, as to how to vote at the March meeting. Tonight, because 100% of the funds are being returned, we're thinking there's not a need to go back to the MUDs to get directions on whether to accept all of the funds or not. And so
I doubt MUD 46 will volunteer to give any back.
we're going on that presumption. So if you choose, you can, I think this is set up for an action item tonight. So you could move forward with a motion and a second to accept the excess funds returns. We've got to have your all's board action so that we can record it with our documentation. So, Ron, do you want to?
The audit committee sees no reason to go against the recommendation of the operator, so we're recommending let's take it back and distribute it.
So,
Yes, sir.
on that subject, please enlighten this board about the condition of the refund. In other words, the 90% must be valid through the next reporting period, which is what, the end of.
Next reporting period would be the end of, well, reporting period would be the end of our fiscal year, and then the audit would be accomplished from September 1 through that 135 days is what the TCQ requires that you deliver an audit.
Okay, what I'm asking you to do is, this is not a done deal. We have to satisfy that requirement, the 90%.
You know anything about that? I did not.
The cash level, we talked about that at the audit committee meeting.
It let me completely.
The likelihood is slim to none, but there is a slim. And the chances that they're currently at about 100%, give or take. And they would have to slide 10 points in 1 month. And with the weather the way it is, that's unlikely.
Page 33.
Okay. So my understanding.
When would you refund this money? What month? Approximately.
Just 1 second, Dave. So Paul, I think, to answer your question, says a final version of this memorandum will be provided at March meeting.
Right.
And that goes on the presumption that that would fill the obligation.
Correct.
My understanding is this number is not going to change, the 5.126 million.
The number will not change. It'll be all or nothing.
It's still,
What could trigger it is it falls below 90%, the cash.
yeah, and I don't think that's going to be an issue.
I don't think so either, but please have this board understand that that is a requirement to be met, and we're not there yet.
So let me go back to, if we were, what month would this money come back? Approximately.
March.
If voted in March, we would probably deliver it within 2 weeks
2 weeks, okay.
of your trustee meeting.
Can we modify the motion such that we vote tonight based on the predication that the audit report next month is satisfactory, so we can,
Certainly.
can we do
You okay
that?
with that?
Yeah, I think you could vote to approve the refund back to the MUDs, assuming that the final memorandum continues to reflect that you're over that 90% threshold.
Thank you for calling that up, Paul.
But it's only through your financials at the end of February. Financials at the end of January show 102% or something. Isn't that what we heard? You're over 100%.
Yeah, we were for
Yeah, that's
100%.
why it's.
So it's,
really
yeah,
unlikely.
the fact that in 1 month you would go from 100% to less than 90 is rare.
We have no judgments or liens against it, other than our bond debt.
Do you need a second, or is that?
Well, it's a modified motion now from what was originally done at the committee. If you'd like to second it, that way we'll have our i's dotted and our t's crossed. So let's do that. So we have a motion and a second. Do we need further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? The amended motion passes.
And that third paragraph tells you where the,
Thank you, Paul.
some of the excess came from.
Thanks, Ed.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Brings us to agenda item number 11, the attorney's report. Brian?
Yes, sir. Good evening. So under the attorney's report today, lead session underway. We do from the last time of our last meeting, we do have a speaker. As y'all know, Burroughs has been elected the speaker. We still do not have committee assignments. I asked our lobbyist today about that, and they said it should be soon, but they are definitely behind on committee assignments, but that's still pending. In terms of the membership, it's about 20% new House members, a little under 10% new Senate members. There is already some legislation that's been introduced that we're tracking. You may have seen that from my partner, Diana Miller, who made the part of the presentation at the AWBD Winter Conference. So we are already tracking one bill that addresses the rollback provisions that we talk about, Senate Bill 749, about whether you're a developed or a developing district. 749 would take away that distinction for districts, which could be problematic for districts that are continuing to develop. But that bill has been introduced, and I always caution folks at the beginning of the session that every session, the kill rate on bills is usually 85+%. So you see a lot of stuff introduced, but you don't see a lot make it across the finish line. So, take some of these early bills that are introduced with a grain of salt, but we are tracking that. There's a bill introduced that wouldn't necessarily impact us much, that would require 60% vote for tax rate, but 3/5 for our boards is 60%, so it wouldn't impact our moves there. A bill introduced, House Bill 416, would move tax roll certification from August to September. So that could be problematic. It's already problematic, the timing for certifications and calling rollback elections. We talked about the possibility of a rollback election, whether it's this year or next year. And the deadline to call any November election is mid-August. So even when you're getting certified in August, you're barely getting them, and you don't have very much time to make a decision about whether you're going to call. If it goes to September, it's definitely not going to link up with the election cycle. So I think for districts that are thinking about a rollback election, what districts are going to have to do is basically preemptively call an election in July or August before that deadline, and then you can cancel your election before early voting begins. We have to look more in depth at what the cutoff would be to cancel the election. But I think the way it's going to work out would be you would have to preemptively call before you may 100% be sure that you're going to move forward with that. So more to come there, but this bill, were it to pass, would certainly make that process more difficult. Bill introduced that would require districts in certain counties to meet. I say it wouldn't apply to Montgomery County, to meet in the district on a quarterly basis. So that would not impact the Woodlands district, since we have a population over 325,000. There's a bill, House Bill 516, that would require water systems to provide advance notice of planned interruptions to the fire department and give notice of an unplanned interruption that lasts 3 hours or more as soon as possible. So that would be something, if we had interruptions, we would have to address. House Bill 704 would prohibit disconnection of water services on a Friday, a weekend, state holiday, or a day before state holiday, or during an extreme weather event. So we would have to keep track of that for turnoffs. Sure, there's more, but that's just a little bit of a flavor of what we're looking at right now. But again, very early in the session, general bills can be introduced up through time in mid-March. The session, of course, runs until the end of May. So just getting started. That's all I have under the general attorney's report. Happy to answer questions if you have them. I do have the next item with y'all as well.
Brian, what about the homestead exemption, increasing that? Is that gonna make us have to look at ours?
I don't know which bill you're referring to. I know there's been a lot of, there's been talk about further increasing the homestead exemption as it applies to school districts, because, that did go up for, the last legislative session. But as far as a change to increase the 20% that is across the board for all taxing jurisdictions, I'm not familiar with it.
It's something that they're looking at to increase it like to 140,000, like something like that.
That may be with the school district though, because on the general residential, it's a percentage. It's not a dollar amount. Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Agenda item 12.
All right. What I affectionately refer to as the TikTok policy. So seen a lot in the news about TikTok and federal legislation and Trump staying that legislation and folks looking to buy it. Well, there's also law passed by the Texas legislature that now prohibits the use or installation of TikTok and related software. There's a list there in the executive summary that's behind the policy.
And this is government-owned systems.
Correct, government owned or leased. So for a lot of MUDs, it doesn't apply. The Woodlands is unique in that, you have staff, you have agency or, district owned equipment. So we do actually have to implement this for, 90+% of districts. They adopt this policy that's set, the format of it is set by the Department of Information Resources. And that's pretty much the end of that tune. Here, we have infrastructure. So I have visited with Eric about it. He says that they don't have any compliance issues at this point and are ready to implement the policy, but we do need to adopt it. You'll have to let the Chinese get your data on personal devices.
Ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Does this apply to directors like myself who's now on your network?
Well, it's not a government owned device.
Thought the way I read this, maybe I didn't read it right. So if you say so, that's fine. So
It's government owned or leased equipment. So now Woodlands Water can go over and above that and also restrict the network regardless of what devices are being attached to that. That's not technically required by the statute, but if Woodlands Water has the ability to do that at without it being too onerous or expensive, you can certainly.
So it reads in scope and definitions, all users of Woodlands Water networks or Woodlands Water owned or leased as devices. So Woodlands Water using the Woodlands Water network. Am I not a user of the Woodlands Water network right now? Okay, I'm just, and
You're not, yeah.
365.
and I want access to Google Drive directly and all that. We're not on your network. That's all I've got. Okay, all right, good. I don't use TikTok. I just didn't want you to know that.
You're getting out of my depth on technology, by the way. I can tell you what the statute says. Yeah.
I need to. Okay, thank you.
All right. There are no questions. We do need a motion on the adoption of the policy. And you'll see this on all the money agendas as well, since it's something that has to be adopted by all Texas government entities.
I'll be happy to make a motion.
Okay. Got that? Trustee Howe made the motion to accept as presented. Second? Second, trustee Neil Gaynor. Further discussion on this matter? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, it brings us to agenda item 13, the general manager's report. General Manager Peterson?
All right, good evening. We've covered several of the items I had. I just wanted to update everybody on the office improvements. You saw kind of phase one of it start late last year with the public spaces. We've now proceeding with the technology for this room and also facing the lobby, as we discussed earlier. And then we're moving into phase two of painting in the workspaces and then also working on some additional things for the lobby. So we're also looking at the fire system security system and access control as well. That we're moving forward to, all within budget. So that's an update. I did want to update everyone. I did commit previously that I would update the trustees on the latest and greatest with the GRP as I entered into that. As was mentioned earlier, the GRP did cancel their January meeting due to the freeze. So I haven't attended a meeting yet. I did attend a orientation meeting with SRA where they gave me some orientation information, budgets, different enabling legislation things, different things about the agency and the plant or the committee and the plant itself. I've since had a meeting with Brad, made a copy of that entire packet, and then we met this week and went over it. We went over the packet in a little bit of detail, but then really talked about goals and steps forward and things like that. So I don't know if there's anything.
You can't participate in it.
And Kim, yes, Tim and Brad and I this week, so. The next meeting will be, I believe, February 24th, as I recall. I'll be attending, that'll be my first one. And that's all I had.
It's impact, I guess it's an impact article that is going to be published about the ditch maintenance. There's 3 or 4 pages back here. And I was trying to decipher, but I noticed at the very end, there's something about impact.
Yeah, this went out. This is on their digital platform.
It's not in their print.
Not in the print, no. No, it was an effort to start educating folks of what we're doing in terms of, the ditches.
I hadn't seen it in the print.
No, it's not in the print. We may end up going with the print also, but we have a digital platform and a print platform with them. So we put that out with digital. And good point. That is also continuing, by the way, that we're continuing to run the ditches and collect the asset and identify the condition of the ditch and assets and piping, et cetera. So we're on schedule.
So I'd like to, if I could just kudos to your team over the weekend, 2 weekends ago, maybe. It's on a Friday, I think it was Saturday. A foundation was being poured on my street, actually at my house, sorry. And a cement truck came in and went down the street to turn around at an intersection in our neighborhood, and a big section of the road basically dropped about 1.5 feet as the back wheels of the cement truck just kind of hit and went over it. He pulled out and came up, and the whole part of that road is right in an area where there's 2 storm drains from one side to another, and there's a big section right in there, and it probably created a gap about 18 inches. And there was kids that were riding around. It was a Saturday, so everyone kind of came up and looked at it, and someone knows that I spent some time up here, so I got called down there. So obviously the pipe underneath there between those 2 storm drains had eroded and made a kind of a big cavity. It was probably about 5 or 6 feet below the surface. It was completely kind of washed out. And this truck was just heavy enough to kind of force it. It had been dropping and slipping a little bit. So by the time I got down to that corner, which was probably about 15, 20 minutes after it happened, the county is already there. Water agency was already informed. I called Eric and said, hey, just so you know, there's something going on. He goes, yeah, we already got the call. It's coming. And you guys jumped on that between the county and water agency, worked on that, and they had to block off that whole road, put all the signages up, and it was kind of a disruption to some of the neighbors because we couldn't go down that street anymore. About 6 days later, it's done, just about. Everyone was very pleased with it, and because just didn't know how long that road would be kind of out of commission. And it was kind of a hazard. I mean, because there's kids all around there, and you get there to go to the mailbox cluster. So really good coordination between water agency and the county to fix something.
The precinct in particular.
Yeah, precinct 3 was all over it, and put big metal plates on it so they could actually get through it for a while and get over it and use that road even though we had it blocked off. So it's just really, really good response, and everyone in the neighborhood was really pleased that it didn't take 2 or 3 weeks to block everything out and send traffic in one direction versus another. So
yeah, I met with the commissioner today, and we talked about that specific situation, and I really I expressed our appreciation that we could all engage and get to the site, assess the issue, agree on the fix, because they have to be a part of the eventual roadway fix, how much to fix. And so everybody was worked together and coordinated together in order to get that done. And we moved very quickly, like you said. So I really appreciated the willingness to work together from the precinct as well.
yeah, so well done.
Does the county pay for this? Did the Woodlands Water or the mud pay for the culvert, and they pay for the street? We had to pay for the street too.
Yeah, the agreement is if the street failure shows to be caused by a pipe failure underneath then we would then pay for the street payment. Now,
We need to get that budget refund.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, if it was identified that, that there was a pavement problem and we didn't have any lines in the area, so it couldn't be proven that, you know, our lines could have caused that, then the county would take it typically.
So, good job.
Thank you.
Question on the GM report. Last month in the minutes, there was item 14 where it said GM Peterson was going to take a look at the cash reserves and come up with a recommendation. Have you had an opportunity to do that yet?
We'll do it in March.
For March? Okay. If council has any concern about that, I would suggest a discussion about that at a time. In other words, we have a policy. Are we going to amend the policy or are we going to make an exception to the policy? Because we're definitely below the cash requirement. So I'd just encourage that discussion before a recommendation is made.
Agreed.
Any further questions for General Manager Peterson?
You're saying right now we're below 1 month?
Just barely under.
That brings us to agenda item 14. Staff or ad hoc committee reports. Personnel committee did not meet. There is no report. Audit and Finance Committee met. Ron gave his report, I believe. Do you have anything to add, Ron? Public Education Committee, Neil?
Yes, we did meet today. The two key items on our agenda. The first is the continuation of the Holloway consultancy regarding future public engagement and education, and that is under consideration. Woodlands Water staff are reviewing a proposal from Holloway for the period May to September 2025. And I understand that related contractual materials will be prepared. Now, the objective of doing this is to provide trustees with a preview, including a budget, during the March meeting. The second thing in our meeting was reviewing the Water Renewal Community Working Group meeting on February the 5th. The major part of the meeting was presenting on water and wastewater infrastructure, an overview of that, including key agencies' responsibilities, funding and tax consideration. And also there was a discussion around development of engagement tools. Some of these things I just mentioned were at the request of CWG members. And important consideration is that the CWG set a key priority of, quote, no surprises, unquote, which I think is good advice for everybody. So there's one other thing. To ensure full attendance at meetings, CWG members, if they have not already done so, are being asked to provide names and contact details of alternates by February the 21st. And then I'll advise that the next meeting of the CWG will be held on April the 2nd. And that's my report for the DC.
I would just add that I think the level of interest and the enthusiasm of this group has grown tremendously as they're getting information. They've kind of gotten their heads around what they're there for and what they're interested in and why they're being asked to kind of learn. And they've asked to actually want to meet more frequently than less frequently, which is a really good sign. And you know, we just have another 20 or 30 people in the community trying to understand what's going on and sharing and being completely transparent with them. So I view this as a really positive thing that we're doing and spending the time. I think we really need to make sure that all the MUDs are represented.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to get.
So 7 and 36 and 46 did not have any members this last 2 times, I think. So it's a really good opportunity. You're going to hear, I mean, I get feedback from my member who goes. I went to the first one and then had an alternate go. He's going to be the primary. We have another alternate in addition to him. So I just think it's a really good thing. You'll listen and hear and get some feedback from the community members who are not listening to this and doing what we do every day or every month that we meet. So I think it's really important.
Are there meetings and attendance taken
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
on the Google Drive someplace? Could you?
There's
could we get a link
minutes.
To it?
The minutes are handed. I mean, it's not recorded meeting. I don't know if you mean that.
No, but I mean, so could you send us?
There's a sign-in sheet.
Yeah, there is a Google Drive location.
There is.
Um,
I don't know
I
if
just-
Cindy has posted the actual
Yeah.
sign-in sheet, but she keeps it. She has.
but she does have a list.
On the minutes, she says who was there and who was absent.
Attendees, yes.
Yeah.
So the minutes are available. Could we get a link to the? minutes?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
It's good. It's really good information. They're doing a good job, I think, understanding how how the rates work, right? Whether it's come through the tax base or comes through the rate stuff. It's just good information. And kind of leading up to saying, and here's some of the big capital projects we have. Right.
This is what we're working towards. This is why these dates are so critical for us, and especially the CWG, to figure out what the messaging, how that is going to be prepared. And
delivered.
absolutely. So I'm pleased, for example, that the costs will be part of the April meeting, the old mud meeting coming from Corolla. So that gives us time to start thinking about, okay, what are going to be the mix of rollback, wholesale water rate, et cetera. So
I would caution going to the public with something that this group hasn't aligned on.
well, I know, but we're not going to be taking that step.
Well, I mean, sharing the cost
So
is
you're
fine,
really gonna buy
but
it?
we haven't we won't have included the decision matrix.
Right.
We won't have a,
Oh, agreed.
Not
Yeah,
next-
yeah.
we won't,
You don't want to be putting out anything in
Well, no, we're not going to
public.
be doing.
I know what you're talking about.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all.
Okay.
Just to the working group.
Just to the.
the working group is the public.
That's right.
I mean, that's the whole idea. They represent the public, right? Communication to the working group is communication to the public, isn't it?
And you're wanting their input. So,
Well, I'm not sure we want their input.
no, I said that was the purpose of having this, is to gather people's input and output, our output, their input.
Correct.
Bring it back to the board, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
But I will say they did advise, as I quoted, no surprises. So I take that very seriously.
So Brad, let me maybe run something by your thinking, trying to get it out there. So one of the ways of trying to understand, like, well, how would a project of X size of capital dollars kind of work through our funding mechanisms that are available in the MUDs? Don't put a name to it or anything, just saying, here's a capital project. If it went through the water rates, it would do this. If it went through the tax base, it would do this. It'd be two different things. That's just an educational piece of material for them to digest as to how water rates are made and how tax dollars work versus water rates.
And Eric covered that very topic.
Yeah, right, as an
At
example.
the
There
last,
hasn't been any discussion on any projects.
yeah.
Any specific projects.
Some feedback. I mean, one of the people that didn't attend on the February 5th meeting said they didn't have enough advance notice to get it on their
Put
calendar.
out to about a month and a half to 2 months prior. Everybody knew.
And that's what I thought, but then I was told it came out in an email the week before.
The reminder did, probably. That's true, but the invite went out well before that. Because we had to secure the room and.
And I thought we talked about it in the MUD meeting. Yeah, but she said,
It's good for us to be represented. That's all, every month to be represented.
This is why we had to go forward with setting a meeting up for April 2nd to be able to get the room that we use.
So when the primary doesn't come, it's up to the primary to call the alternate. Is that how? That's normally how it works.
Yes.
I think so.
I would
Yes.
think so. Yeah, I would think.
That makes sense.
oh, we had two reps per MUD, didn't we?
Not one.
No, one.
No, there's two now.
There's two now.
Well, a primary and an alternate.
Primary and alternate.
That's not MUD 7. We just elected two. We didn't do a primary and alternate, did we?
each mode now. At the last meeting, those that didn't have primaries and alternates filled that alternate slot.
Okay.
So prior to.
Oh, I'm confusing this with the creek drainage where we have two.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's different. Correct.
Sorry.
Yep.
You have your attendance sheet, when?
No,
I can get.
well, I mean, I think the link will be sent out to everybody. Right?
You're saying who was in the PEC meeting? This-
Yeah, I just thought I was curious. Yeah,
Oh,
she
they-
check a name, but don't worry about it.
The CWG or the PEC?
CWG.
CWG.
Oh,
Okay.
the CW.
Yeah, you'll get the link here momentarily.
Okay. Any further questions for trustee Gaynor and the Public Education Committee? Okay, recess, no need to recess. That brings us to agenda item 16, no need to reconvene. Item 17, we had a number of matters that we're going to put on future agenda. Do we need to go through those again, or does anybody need to add anything that they'd like to discuss?
Just that we would be, the intent of this review for the continuing in the Holloway consultancy will be presented to trustees. That's the intent during the March meeting.
Okay, review of the Holloway contract. Okay. Anything else?
You got it.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.